So I'm Amanda Oliver and I am a project delivery lead with UneeQ. So today I want to go into what it really takes to deliver a digital human project. So going into information around the deliverables as well as the skills and capabilities that we need. I think we heard earlier about how we do need new skills and capabilities to be able to bring this to life. So I want to talk a little bit about that as well today. Now we are in a workshop, so please ask me questions. Let's try and make it as interactive as possible. If I can't answer the questions, it sounds like other people in the room might be able to do that. So please either call out or put your hand up and I'll stop for questions. So first up, when you're looking at delivering a digital human, it's really the most important thing is this use case and understanding the use case. Now, I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail around use case exploration and identification because Craig is going to go into that a little bit later. But we really need to understand why we're doing what we're doing and how we're going to measure success. You'll see as I go through the work streams that you really need to be able to keep your eye on this and really understand what your use case and what you're trying to deliver to your customers. So, like I said, real tactical information. So this is really an overview of all the streams of work that it takes to deliver a digital human. So I'm going to go into each of these work streams, like I mentioned, and talk about the deliverables and the skills and capabilities that you need. But you can see they kind of break down into three different categories or sections. You've got experience design, digital and technical, and quality and support. And usually for most projects, it's going to be about 8 work streams, depending on whether you do a web or a kiosk-based delivery. So let's start going into each of these work streams. Like I say, let's ask questions as we go, but you can start to see how you bring this to life. So the digital human creation, the pretty face. So to your question earlier about bias, this is one of the areas where you can start to have those conversations, and as a delivery lead, you can maybe start to challenge and understand what the look and personality that they're going for and how that aligns to their brand. So this is really around, like Gavin mentioned, how you bring your brand to life. So everything from age, ethnicity, gender, hair, clothes, everything you need to usually do this in a workshop type situation. Personality, backstory, again, it was mentioned earlier, they can be quirky, really serious. We've just done, as Gavin mentioned, a concierge. So that's a little bit more serious, a little bit more professional, as to quirky Sophie, who you saw earlier. The voice is also part of this. So there is a number of ways of doing the voice. There's the synthetic voice and there's the voice recording. But all of it is about you need to select the kind of voice that you're looking for and the talent and then go through the recording. So that also is a really big piece of building your digital human. So in terms of the capabilities, really important here that you have that digital leadership, that business sponsor and product owner as part of this. It's very important, that you're aligning to your brand and you're very clear about your vision. So therefore brand and marketing, also really important. I put here also attention to detail. So within this workstream, when you think about building a person, there's a lot of detail that goes into this, and you want to be looking for all the little things, the hair, the skin tone, all of those sorts of things. So you really need to be focused on those details. So in terms of how you can, the mechanisms of creation. So you saw the super exciting video of the scan of Petro Baselli. So that's really a digital clone. So that's about having a real person going into the cage with the lights and scanning them. The other way, and which is definitely something that we've done mostly with customers, is around using a lot of photos. So when you're going through and trying to understand your brand and what kind of clothes, you just pull together a lot of different photos for reference, and then that can be built into a rig and then turned into your digital human. So that is the sort of second tier, I guess, in terms of creating a digital human. Yeah. So that's a good question. It has come up a couple of times. So if you think about everything, so let me repeat the question. So the question is, have we thought about doing a full body avatar? So there are definite challenges with doing a full body, and in terms of hands in particular with animation. So we definitely find that above the shoulders is a much better experience. It's not to say that that might not be kind of in the future, but at the moment this is a great experience from the shoulders up, so that's kind of where we're focusing. Thanks. Yep.
Just a follow-up question. What was the primary reason why you wanted to do a full body? Like,
Yeah, good. So I mean, I think that's a great use case, and I'm going to talk a little bit about UI and UX. So even though you don't necessarily have that full body, so that they're wearing the fashion, there are ways that you can incorporate imagery with the digital human that could maybe show you that the fashion in different ways. So there are ways that you could use that use case with this kind of style of digital human. Yep.
It seems a very involved process to create them at the moment.
Yeah.
And then we talked before about hyper-personalisation.
Yep.
How far away do you think it is from the point where users would be able to pick their own?
Select.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me repeat the question. So the question is, how far away would we be from a customer selecting from, I guess, a library of avatars? So that is definitely something, you know, that we are looking at from a product perspective. You know, that does create a lot of great things in terms of speed, as well as true personalization. But again, that is going to be kind of on the roadmap. You know, there's definitely development that's required to get to that space. Because as you can, like to your point, at the moment it's very detailed to get to that, so we have to build the library.
There's a very cheeky answer to that.
Oh.
When you think about how long it makes to make a baby, or how long it takes to make a baby. So 9 months is, you know, kind of the average there, and probably these projects are around the 9-month mark beginning to and that's just the beginning.
Yeah.
When you think about how they're likely to develop.
It is very much like that. You know, you are right from the beginning, you're building this person from the bottom up. So it is like building a baby. Yeah.
There was a recent showcase, I believe, in Bahrain or something like quite a bit, UAE, in the last couple of weeks, or maybe in the very near future. And they were looking at the high-end technology environment. This was part of the showcasing of various technologies.
Yep.
How interactive is what's going on at those international events so far away, interacting and changing the landscape of the development within the likes of New Zealand, which is seen as sometimes at the cutting edge,
Yep.
because we are at the right side of the date line, but
Yep.
the other part of it is we're so far physically,
Yeah. Yeah.
geographically relocated, and yet some of the developments in recent weeks
Yep.
have been quite small businesses, startups that are multi-million-dollar
Yep.
sales of
Yep.
technology.
Yep. So the one thing I would say, so we are on the global stage, so we are going to those conferences with our technology. So we are definitely part of those conversations and part of those roadshows. I'm not in the specific one you've mentioned. I'm not sure about. Yeah, but so
It was a big one. It was something I just stumbled on by chance.
yeah. Yep, so we, from a technology standpoint, we're definitely there, right up there as a leading digital human platform, and we are going to those conferences. We're global, we've got a great presence, we're launching in the US. So, but we're also aware of the market, right? So you also got to make sure that we're across any of those advancements, and anything that is applicable, you know, we would bring into our organisation.
I think one consideration that very few people think about is the IP issues and dealing through that. That can be a timescape issue of you've got the idea, you've got to go through the various markets of registration and
Yeah.
seeing that whether or not you're having to buy or acquire
Sure.
someone else's technology.
Sure.
How does that change the landscape when you're trying to develop a product like this?
So are you asking how or where does the IP sit for this? I'm not sure, yeah.
I'm leaving you to the floor to, let's say someone who's a specialist in the IP forum that going through, it's nice to have the ideas, but then when you try and take it into another marketplace, you're having to challenge.
Yeah.
Based on region or
Yep.
particular sector of the market.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure, I don't know if anybody else has got an answer to that question, but yeah, for sure. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know if anybody else has got an answer to that.
Maybe if we hold that
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
Otherwise we won't get through.
Yeah, that's right. We do need to get through. So thanks for the question, and let's see if we can get an answer. Right, so this is the process in terms of the digital human creation process like I've talked about. So you make the decision around whether you've got a scan or a composite of photos. You go through a series of iterations in terms of trying to turn all of those photos into what you had in your mind. So you start generally with probably quite a few, 2D mock-ups. As you can see here, you move then into, again, it's iterations and feedback, that attention to detail that I mentioned. You move then into 3D modeling, so that's the third image there going across the slide. And then once you're settled on that 3D model, you then start on the animation, which you can see there. You can see Mel there starting to move. And again, every bit of it is iterative. So you've got your static image, but then once she animates, again, you might have additional feedback into the design process. And then from there, you go into voice, design, and select. So it's a big process, but it's fun. Okay, so the next piece, we've talked about voice, but in terms of bringing voice together, it's really conversation and natural language processing, or NLP. So really the art and the science. So I think we've heard earlier about how the challenges with taking written text and turning it into conversation. That is definitely a challenge in this space. So you really need to, the creation of the conversation is really an art, and it is a skill that is emerging, or a capability that's really important with the Digital Human Project. That comes from harvesting a whole lot of information or data and then turning that into conversation. So I think on one of Leroy's slides it said, "Is your data ready to talk?" I thought that was a really good link with this, because a lot of the time your data is not ready to talk. Some of it, customer services scripts, they can be really good. Otherwise, there's a lot of work that goes into the conversation. And then the NLP, the structure, I think there's quite a few people familiar with this in the room. So this is really about the architecture of the conversation, and that all needs to be built. So you really need like NLP architects and engineers involved, along with your conversation experience designer and a content creator. So as it says here, digital humans aren't chatbots, and part of this process is a lot of the time is going to be role playing, talking out your conversation, tweaking your conversation, and then talking with the digital human, making sure your NLP, your trees are working, and constantly reviewing. So again, it's that constant iteration in this work stream is the same across all of the different work streams. So any questions around conversation, the work stream? No. It's a great question. So we've got a lot of great NLP and conversation partners, but again, it's an emerging capability with digital humans. We have internal experience designers, again, that have worked across a lot of digital humans, so we're building that capability. What we're then wanting to do as we engage with partners is pass that knowledge on and train and help people to understand all the different best practice and process when working with a digital human. So I'm not aware that there is a course around conversation experience design at the moment. I'm sure there will be though, right? And I'm sure there will be, and because it is a skill that's really required. Yeah. Cool. Right, so UI and UX. Again, this isn't necessarily an emerging capability, but applying this to digital humans definitely is a variant. So UI and UX with the digital human really creates that meaningful and engaging user experience. So we talked about how with the conversation challenges with speech to text, this is where UI and UX can really come into play to help drive those conversations and help overcome some of those challenges. So you can use imagery, dynamic content, like I mentioned, you know, something like a fashion model on the side, touch, text, all of those sorts of things to help drive the experience with the user. It really helps, again, it then comes to testing and iteration, but as I say, it really ensures that we're overcoming some of those challenges around speech to text, or also some of the challenges about the fact that it is completely new and people can be a little bit apprehensive or not really know what to say or how to interact. So this is where UI and UX really plays a big part. And actually some of the fundamentals that are around UI don't always apply to a digital human. So again, this is where you really have to understand that digital human experience and apply that learning. So any questions around that? No, It's pretty straightforward. This is a great slide with all the different kind of examples of the UI and UX you can use. So you can see some touch buttons, you can see some text coming up, an interactive map. I don't know if anybody's seen Nola and Noleming, but she's a bit of a wayfinder that's at the front of the store, and she's able to direct you where you need to go. So interactive maps appear with Nola, that's the bottom left. Cool.
I guess this is where the question comes up about there does seem to be a bit of bias in terms of the gender.
Yes. Yes, there definitely is. And like I said earlier, the way we really, as a delivery lead, it's really about having those conversations and understanding that there is an unconscious bias, but getting, maybe pushing back, maybe challenging, maybe offering some other options with our customers to really help challenge those unconscious bias. But yes, you can see there a lot of ladies. So same digital human duplicated on the screen? Oh yes, so having an option. Yes, so choices is definitely like, yeah, definitely. I mentioned that is certainly something that we continue to look at, especially with things like health coach and mental health coach. I think it is really important for users to be able to have those options because they may or may not find it more comfortable to disclose to a woman or a man. So we definitely do. That's a good question. So the question was, do we provide anything that we would lean our customers in any one way or the other? So it is our responsibility, definitely to be across research and to understand, different user research and how users are feeling. It's also our job probably not to lean customers one way because it really needs to be their brand and their vision. But as I say, we can bring different informational research to the table that would help with those decisions. Yeah. Cool. Right, so integration. So, that's the same, it's cut off the image, but that was an image you saw earlier in Gavin's slide. So integrations, as you've heard, can be pretty much unlimited in terms of what kind of systems we can integrate with. So there's as Gavin has talked about, there's the orchestration layer, and Reg has also talked about then the different systems that can link into the orchestration layer. So some of these, can really be endless. So we've talked about the fact that we've got a hardware integration, so we have a digital human that can open doors and allow delivery people to leave deliveries. You can also link into Salesforce or CRM systems, authentication systems, all of those sorts of things can integrate within the orchestration layer, your internal systems into the orchestration layer, which then come to life through the digital human. So you have heard about this a lot, so I don't know if anybody's thought about any particular systems within their organizations or that spring to mind where this may be useful with your systems integrations, with systems you have. No, we've used them all. Yep. Yep. Yeah, great. So that's feeding lists from a CRM. Another one is HR systems. So for onboarding or induction or training, really great to be able to integrate this with success factors or work days, those sorts of things. So like I say, it really is endless. So I'd start to think, if you're certainly wanting to come along on the digital human project, think about some of those systems where you feel that you could really add value with this kind of integration. All right. Quality assurance. So this is another really important work stream. Obviously, I think I've probably said all of them are really important, but this is really making sure that the experience is functional and feels great, right? We are wanting to create that emotional connection and that great user experience. especially with digital humans being relatively new for users, you want them to want to come back, right? So you don't want it just to be a one-off interaction. You want them to be coming back so that the digital human can learn and become better. So this really around end-to-end testing, user testing, business and acceptance testing, all pretty standard in terms of what you would expect from a product delivery, but just really important that it's not just focused on the functional, but also the experience. So within this work stream, obviously quality analyst, but again, product owner and business sponsor around making sure that the vision has come to life in a really excellent way. Great, and then operational enablement and deployment. So this is really about making sure that the digital human is managed, if we think about them as a person, right? So training, performance development, enablement, making sure that the organization is set up for continuing to review and train and develop the digital human. So that it's not just a one-off, because again, the digital human will become better and better if you're going through a review and iteration around conversation, around how the UI is being used, and you've got that kind of support to make sure that she becomes or he becomes an integral part of kind of your workforce. So obviously with deployment, there's also making sure that you're ready to go live, you're ready with support, whether it's customer support, technical support, and then a communication strategy. So you want to make sure that you communicate that she's there, right? You want to drive adoption and engagement. So as with any project, you're going to be looking at kind of a go live and a communication and change strategy as part of it. So this is quite a big one in terms of capabilities or the number of resources that would be involved. So definitely customer operational support, like I mentioned, change management, marketing, and communication. So all really key, especially if you're, again, wanting that roadmap, wanting to make sure that you've set the foundation with the first starting use case, but that you've got a great roadmap for her or he to develop over time. Look, even my bias with language. Any questions around this? Yep.
In terms of the use cases, are you seeing people go more external or internal in terms of what they're picking as their first run?
Yeah, so I think it's probably at the moment leaning towards external, but I personally can see, and we're talking the use cases we're talking today, I think there's a lot of scope for internal use cases, especially in things like HR or customer support or induction, onboarding, those types of activities. So yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of scope for internal use cases. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
When you think about what kind of interaction your customers are going to have, something that I've sort of considered is that the information and the AI that's driving the conversation bots, you can train that with your internal people. You're paying them to be patient with it, which is always a nice thing. So that way, when you build up that reference architecture of conversations of information and referenceable material, when you present something to your customers, it's more intelligent and more able to answer questions because you've paid your internal people to be patient.
Yep. Yep.
That's a great point that
Yeah.
everyone makes, but we have to be mindful that when you're building your training set with your actual audience as
Mm.
close as you can.
That's right.
Because you can really get tripped up.
That's right.
You do isolated groups, and then you open up to the real world.
Yeah. And that's really, absolutely. So that's understanding your users and understanding the differences that may come into play from an internal and external for sure, and being focused on that use case. Yes.
So in Gavin's slide deck, there was an example of where to deploy first, and it's those mundane, repetitive, what you would describe as being narrow
Transactional.
AI tasks. So it doesn't necessarily matter whether it's internal or it's external. It's finding a use case that's going to deliver the most amount of value that you can bite off in a narrow sense first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the only thing on that note is brand risk, right? You get it wrong.
Yeah.
On the external, then actually no one more legit.
Yeah. Yep, that's where the quality assurance, that's right, you want to be absolutely set on it before it goes out to an external market. Same thing here with the operational enablement and deployment. It's having that plan in place and those checkpoints to make sure you're going to get it right. Yeah.
I just have one question. So when we talk about change, so can we have targeted goals for probably the departments in an organizing change we talk about?
Yeah.
So every department has a different
Need.
impact.
Yeah.
Yes. So can we have it targeted?
Yeah. So the question was about targeted communications, and absolutely. So understanding your audiences and targeting your communications to those audiences is really key. Understanding how they may be interacting with you or how we might want them to promote. Unconscious bias, it's terrible. Promote him. So absolutely, you would want to target communications if there's a need for it. So if there's quite significant differences in the groups, you definitely want to do that. Yes. Great. Any other questions? No? Great. Okay, and so then that all ties together with project management. And this is really important. This does actually tie to the other, what's been mentioned around bringing a lot of different functions together. So you can see within this project, within these work streams, there's a lot of different resources and capabilities. And if you think about that maybe from an enterprise perspective, they're going to be coming from different parts of the organization. So it's really important that we have that tied together and making sure that we're kind of bringing everybody together and focusing on that use case, focusing on the experience that we're trying to deliver so that we are ultimately going to deliver a really great experience for our users. Does that all make sense? Great. So I do have a video which kind of brings to life this whole process, right? So this video is around the creation of Amy, who went live the last week with Southern Cross. So that kind of shows you how everything comes together and all the different resources that are involved.